first thing I want to do is let's talk about some enumerations. So in software that we write, we often run into situations where we may have a method or a variable that we want to be able to make it of a type, and we want to have that type only be one of X amount of values. So I'm sure that a lot of people here, like we've talked about Booleans. So my Boolean, and it can contain true and it can contain false, and that's all a Boolean can do. We run into situations where we want the similar behavior of a Boolean, where it can only contain one or two of a constant expression, but we want to have control over what kind of constant expressions we can put in. So I'm going to be introducing an example of a new type. What do I mean by a new type? Well, I mean that you know how we have like floats and ints and bools and doubles and all that fun stuff that we've been using? Those are all types, and they allow us to create variables of those types. Well, an enumeration allows us to define a user-defined type, which is one of the kind of core aspects really to programming in C#. You're going to be spending a lot of time creating types. And there's a variety of different kinds of types. The only kind of type that we are going to be working with today are enumerations. Next week we'll be discovering or going over some other kinds of types we can put together. But enumerations will give us a really easy way to kind of see, okay, so this is how I create a custom type, and this is what it does, and blah, blah, blah. So they're lots of fun. So an enumeration is, again, it's kind of type, and we define it wherever a type definition is allowed. So again, you're just going to have to know the rules in this case. You're just going to have to memorize where it is that type definitions are allowed. And the easiest way to think of it is that types are allowed anywhere that really isn't a method. Now, that's not necessarily true. There are other circumstances that types aren't allowed in, but for now, since we've already really talked about methods, the easiest way to describe it right now is we can define an enumeration anywhere that isn't a method.